Let's go. Welcome back to the Inside Lines, where politics meets power and the stories go deeper. I'm your host, George, and today we're diving into a question that's close to home for me. Are Asian Americans, and specifically Korean Americans, showing up to vote? Are we making our voices heard in local and state elections, or are we leaving influence on the table? Joining me today is my friend and community leader, Councilman Chris Cho from Closter, New Jersey. Chris has been a visible voice for Korean Americans in local government and is passionate about getting our community more engaged in civic life. We'll talk about his journey into public service, what he's learned along the way, and how we can build a stronger culture of participation, especially with an really important election coming up this November for New Jersey. Chris, welcome to the show. Thanks for spending time with me today. I know you're extremely busy, but really appreciate you being here.
No, thank you for the invite. I really, enjoy your talks. So I'm really excited today.
Thank you. Awesome. So Chris, for those of our viewers that may not know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. So I've been pretty much a Jersey boy my whole life. My parents came to the U.S. in 1973. We moved up to New Jersey in 1975, and I've been here pretty much ever since. I grew up in Jersey City, where we still have a business. We have a gas station that my dad started at the Holland Tunnel.
Oh, okay. I probably filled up there a couple times and didn't even know.
Yeah, a lot of people do because, we're famous for having 13 gas stations within a 3-block radius.
Oh, wow. 13.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay.
And so we've always, my dad started there as a manager that he applied through the newspaper. He slowly went up the ranks of working for Mobil Oil, becoming a manager there. And then eventually he was given the opportunity to purchase the property. And so we've been running it ever since. But my father went into expanding in the gas business for a little bit, but not really. He more went into property, which is what we still do now. But we've been here. We lived in Jersey City. And then it got a little dangerous in Jersey City. It was a really rough neighborhood. We were on the close to the Bayonne border.
Okay.
And then one day, one of the students beat up one of the teachers. My dad was like, "Okay, time to move." And so he said, "Okay, what neighborhood is the best?" So he asked a bunch of customers. One of them said, "Hey, well, move to Westfield. It's a really nice neighborhood. Why don't you move there?" In 1980, we packed up, moved to Westfield, and pretty much that's where I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school. And so my parents are still there. They're in their 90s, but they still live there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I grew up as a Catholic over in our church started in Montclair.
Okay.
And it kind of grew from there. We were the first Korean Catholic church. And so it grew a lot. And then that was my only kind of like connection to the Korean community. Because in my school, there weren't
that many.
Yeah. It's like a handful. Yeah.
That's being generous.
Yeah. Plus they were, not to my taste at that time. So it wasn't like we were close. I mean, even one of the girls, our families were close to each other, but we were not, even though we're in the same grade. We kind of avoided each other. So my only Korean contact was every Sunday at the church.
Okay.
And so so I still have those relationships today. My closest friends are still from church.
Okay.
I just came back from Miami, and I have a friend who became a priest. Ooh, and wow. We went together, and there was another person that went with me. With us, all three of us went down there, a little boys' trip, and it was fun. But I would have to definitely say that my church life with the Korean community was very important to me. So out of every day of the week, I would always look up to Sunday because it was, hey, let's go and be with like-minded people.
Right.
And so, it was like, you could go eat kimchi together. We had barbecues of like kaibi, and, it was always just comfortable for me. And so I always look forward to Sundays. And so that's where we started. And then eventually I got married. I had some roommates in between there, and I kind of bounced around between living in Bloomfield for a friend who needed a roommate. I didn't need to move out, but he needed a roommate, so I moved out. I lived in Edgewater for a little while. And so every Sunday after church, we would always be hanging around Bergen County.
Yeah.
Back then, we would always go to Padambadan to go drink.
Missed that place. That was a great place.
Yep,
great chicken.
And the tungdak was the best, so always got several orders of that. And so I've always been around Bergen County. And then knowing people from New York City that went to school there, and a lot of people from Rutgers. So I was kind of like going around from place to place, staying with friends here and there. I had one group of friends, hey, let's go to Atlantic City. Oh, hey, we got one friend, let's go hang out in the Korean clubs in New York.
Yeah.
So that was my childhood, and so it was always mixed with Korean community. And so I've been around for a long time. And then eventually my father became involved with politics. He became president of the Korean American Merchants Association, which is, I guess correctly, is Business Merchants Association, which he's still sort of involved with, but they only invite him since he's a past president.
president.
And so now they asked me to come along.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they asked me to join. It's just that I had I hurt my back this year, and so I wasn't able to attend any of their events. But they do have a great event where they spread Korean businesses over at American Dream.
Okay.
And they're always promoting Korean products.
I see.
And so at this point, I'm so proud of what the Koreans have done with K-pop, music. You would never think that how big it is today would ever come to this stage.
Well, look, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, like, I'm proud of like your father and his and your family being able to accomplish so much. I mean, in one generation, how can you accomplish this much, right? It's similar to like my background and my family, where I'm sure, your parents, when they came to America, they didn't have that much money. My dad certainly didn't, but they worked hard. They just worked, basically, right? They worked and worked and worked, tried to provide the best living for accommodations or whatever it is for their children. And we are kind of the results from that. And I think that's just a true testament to how great America is for immigrants, right? Immigrants that came here the right way and worked hard, didn't cause any trouble. And through that hard work and persistence and drive and dedication and discipline, great things have blossomed out of that. And so, like, you're growing up too. I don't know how it was in Westfield, but I grew up in Paramus, and So maybe we had a little more Korean people here. In Bergen County, back then, we didn't have the K-Town like in Palisades Park as much as it is today, where there's restaurants. This is K-Town, right? In New Jersey, perhaps maybe in New York City. But we had back then it was the Hanarum, which is now H Mart. But it wasn't as big as it was today. So we were able to get little, Korean food here and there. And then our parents had to actually make it really, so yeah, I mean, that what you said kind of summarizes, I think, a lot of the Koreans who grew up in the 80s, right? In the late 70s, 80s, and 90s era. And it's amazing how Korea is recognized today with regards to the entertainment industry, with regards to business, right? I mean, in 10 minutes from us, we have the headquarters of two of the largest Korean companies in the world, headquartered in our neighboring Englewood Cliffs. That's amazing, right? That's truly amazing. So it definitely is a testament to the Korean willpower and the Korean mantra of work hard and doing all you can do, and living the right way. Right. So, but you mentioned your father was kind of, I guess, got into politics or kind of got into civic service in the sense of helping be a part of this organization that helps Korean businesses. And they've asked you to come on board too, but you are a councilman in Closter, New Jersey. How did that happen? I mean, did you have always that drive to serve the community, or was it something like that, something hit you that you were like, I need to serve, I need to step up? Tell us a little bit about that.
So back to my father, just to go back a second. So I saw what my father was going through, and there were some ugly sides. And so in the beginning, I always said, wow, politics is a little dirty.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't think I would ever go into politics. And so what happened was after COVID hit, there was racism going on.
Really?
With the Chinese, they started it, but, they were blaming everybody that was Asian. And so still at that point, I wasn't interested in politics, even though my Mayor John Glidden of Closter asked me if I was ever interested in politics. And I told him no in the beginning because I do like to help out. My wife was the Closter Korean Parent Group president for a while. I think it was 2 or 3 terms that she was president. But when we lived in Cliffside Park and my kids were going to Christ the Teacher school, my wife always did a lot of volunteer work for the church, which continues today, just in her church life, but everything with the kids. So we have always had volunteering whatever we can to help out. And so I would see the Closter mayor often. And so he recognized that I do a lot of volunteer, and so does my wife, does a lot of volunteering. But that it translated into politics later on because of COVID, and there was racism in Closter.
Really?
And I didn't think there would ever be racism in Closter, and then I found out that people that I know, they were just walking along the streets of Closter, and there were some, they were not from Closter. They were, I believe, there to build a house. And so while they were walking, they're in the middle of COVID, because you have to do everything outdoors.
Yeah.
They said some nasty stuff to them where it was basically, hey, go back to your country. We don't want what you brought in. And I was shocked to hear about this coming into Closter. And so I felt like the people that experienced it didn't really have a way of communicating it to our local government. And so that's when I became involved. Back then, I had a rally for Stop Asian Hate back right in the middle of COVID. And so I arranged it. It was after the Tenafly one. And so I thought at that point it was important to represent Asians. Because even in today's life, or recently, there are older Koreans who don't speak English at all. And although I'm not fluent in Korean, I'm able to get by on what they say to me and relay that to our local government. And so anything simple, the latest one whereas a lady moved in, she can't, due to a restaurant right behind her, all the employees park in front of her driveway and our streets, and she can't park anywhere. And so instead of talking to us and seeing what we can do to help her, she was thinking about just moving. And
this is a Korean
older lady.
She's been living in town for a long time, or
I don't know how long she's been living there, but it does seem like she was been there a while. But it was actually not her who conveyed the message. It was actually her kids, her son, who put it on social media. And I saw it, and so I went over there and I rang the doorbell and I talked to them. And I was thinking, I need to know the full story of what they're doing. It seems like the restaurant just doesn't have enough parking. So all the employees are parking in front of her house and also across the street. And it's a very narrow street. I parked there for about 10 minutes to talk to them. Another car parked on the other side. And next thing you know, the traffic flow just stopped because it was so narrow. And so I recognized that and said, okay, let me see what I can do. So for Closter, I'm in charge of ordinances. So I put it on the agenda for the next ordinance meeting, and we'll see what we can do to help her out. I mean, she shouldn't have to move.
Right.
And so I'll do whatever I can.
I mean, look, that's a great accomplishment. Let's take a couple steps back though. You interacted with a couple who experienced Asian hate, and we all know, I mean, Asian hate was pretty rampant during the COVID. I mean, I've experienced it. Go back to your country. I'm like, I was born here, bro. But like, it's like those stupid, ignorant kind of remarks. I mean, that's prevalent all the time. That happened. You experienced it in elementary school, and middle school, high school, wherever, that's always going to be around because they're stupid people. But that Asian hate was resulting in physical attacks. Like we saw that in New York City, right? Where there were elderly women or women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They're walking on the street during daylight being attacked by people, from behind, like these coward, like really garbage people, I saw there was an attack in the subway where like there was an Asian man who was like sleeping or something and he was attacked, so quite prevalent. And so, yeah, it was around for sure. And you get those looks and stuff and like, oh, you sneezed or whatever. And it's like, oh, you have COVID and all those types of things. Okay. So you said you had some sort of like, gathering in Closter. Like, what was it? Like a sort of a rally?
It was a rally.
Okay.
At Memorial Park.
Okay.
We had some keynote speakers.
Yeah.
But it was just to bring awareness. One of the keynote speakers was Brian, who lives in Tenafly, but he actually formed a group of high school students.
Okay.
He actually went to Bergen Academy, and what happened was there was an incident there with a Spanish teacher who stood up and said, "Hey, I don't like Korean people," or something,
wow,
or
really?
something like that. Yeah.
In
And so,
school, a teacher?
yeah, and it of course it caused an uproar with all the moms, and rightfully so. And then he became a leader throughout this, and so he was going around giving speeches, and so I invited him to my rally and had him speak as well. But it was just there were some racism also within Closter, and so I wanted to clear up. I that's one of my biggest thing was to go into Closter and see, hey, is there any racism in government?
Isn't there a large Asian, specifically like a Korean population living in Closter?
Yeah, it's about 40%.
It's 40%. How many people what's the population of Closter?
It's just around 8,600.
8,600. So it's not a really big town. It's a small town. I like the town. I like what you guys done with that whole property where Whole Foods is and Target. You totally revamped Closter. Like that's a place to really kind of go now to get some good food, and there's nice restaurants over there and stuff like that. So you guys did a great job with that area. But yeah, 46% of people who live in Closter are Korean. That's crazy. And there's still like this like racism going on there.
Yeah, because I feel like most Koreans are passive.
Right.
If something happens, they definitely
ignore it or
might tell a couple people, but otherwise they don't gather together, which is, I think, one of the biggest problems.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's just part of how Asians are.
Do you think it's because like they just don't want to deal with it and they're just too busy with their own lives? They're just like don't want to get involved. I mean, we do see like in Korea, there's people that gather right for like demonstration and rallies. I mean, back in the day, before it was really a democracy. I don't, when it was like kind of like a dictatorship, and they're like the student revolutions, right? Back in the early 80s, where students would gather and protest because they weren't able to read certain books or like read any sort of materials. I feel like Asians kind of do gather, but maybe they don't, right? Like, why do you think that is? Like that, what's the mentality behind that?
I don't know, but if you look at most Asians, like Japanese, and they tend to be quiet. And I think Koreans are the same way. Instead of they absorb what's going on and don't really voice it out. And so I'm hoping that I'm an avenue where they can voice it out, and I could be the middleman. And if you can't get your point across, then definitely I will.
What kind of things are you doing to let the Closter community know that you're here? That like you want to hear what the problems are.
Yeah, so I definitely try to reach out to all the Asian people that live in Closter. I do write newsletters. Well, not a newsletter, but I do write certain things. But whenever I do go out and I meet people, I try to give them my personal cell phone number, saying, "Hey, just call me if you ever have a problem. If you need any kind of help, especially in Closter, it doesn't necessarily have to be just in Closter. Maybe I can reach out to. I'll do whatever I can, whether it's local, state, county, federal. If I can, there might be somebody that I know that can help somebody, and I will. It's just like I had a friend when I used to run a 7-Eleven. She was my field consultant, and her grandmother died. I didn't even know she was Indian, and she couldn't get a visa. So at that point, that was during sort of toward the tail end of COVID. And so you needed an appointment to get into the embassy. I don't know if you do now, but she needed an appointment, and because they were keeping the grandmother alive, just so long enough so she could fly there and say goodbye. But she couldn't get an appointment, so she reached out to whoever she could, and she reached out to me, and I happened to get in contact with a congressman from Kansas who was able to reach out to the Indian consulate and get her an appointment. And so she went the next day and was able to get the visa, get an emergency visa. And she flew over there and said goodbye to her grandmother. And about within the hour, she passed away. So you never know who I can help or I can't help. I mean, if people do definitely come to me for Closter taxes, taxes is one of those tricky things where I, as a Republican councilman, I try to keep everything as low as possible. I go through every day. For the first hour or two when I go to work, I sit in front of the computer and I try to look for grants. Wherever there's free money, and I'm always thinking of how can we, if we can't stop spending money, how can we bring in more money?
So you're actually looking for, you're doing the work of looking up for the grants and any sort of things, like, because I never hear council people actually doing that. So that's kind of...
yeah, definitely. I mean, whatever grants are out there, I just found a great one for historical. And so I passed it on to my fellow councilwoman, Anna Maroulis, who also ran with me.
Okay.
And because she's the liaison to the historical. And we actually qualified because we are in Closter, we are considered more of an affluent town. And so to qualify is very difficult.
Right.
But I'm always looking, and same thing when I went to the League of Municipalities. I went to a lot of the classes. And while I was going to classes, I didn't know, because they're all saying, "Oh, sign up for your credit." Then I realized I didn't know what all these credits were for. Yeah. Then I realized that I don't need credits because I don't work for local government in terms of an actual job. Yeah. Right. I'm an elected official, but I had my days, my schedule jam packed with whatever I could, because I'm trying to make Closter a better place.
Like, what gives you that energy, though? I mean, you're a business owner, you're running businesses. Obviously, your time is limited. I don't know, as an elected official, if you get paid, you probably get a little stipend or whatever. That's certainly not a lot. What gives you that motivation to continue to seek for ways and solutions to help your community? Because, to be honest, it's not an easy thing. I mean, I'm on the Board of Ed. I don't get paid anything. My meetings are 5-6 hours long. We get bombarded with email complaints about certain things. Something's going on right now in Paramus. And it's like, one thing I know is, like, people don't understand, or people don't know what elected officials do or what they can or cannot do. Like, I think a lot of people in my town think that the Board of Ed, we just run the whole Board of Ed. We don't. We create policy, and we give directives to the superintendent and his administration, and then they do the day-to-day. He's like the CEO. We're like just the board, right? But people blame us for the problems. It's like, what can we do, Is that the same with, like, the council? And, like, what gives you that motivation or incentive when it's just, like, always complaints. I mean, there's got to be end of the rope. Or for Councilman Cho, is it like, no, this is something that I need to do, I'm called to do, like, I want to do this? What are your driving motivations, and what are your driving, like, characteristics of why you do what you do? Because, look, I don't know any council person who goes out, and I don't know a ton of council people, but who, like, actually does research and trying to find grants. That's like a wow. that's pretty cool that you're spending time doing that.
So I grew up as a very competitive person playing football.
Okay. What position did you play?
Outside linebacker.
Okay.
And so I was very competitive, and I still am. And so I would love to see Closter on the top list for best places to live. We are voted to be the most environmental.
But best
friendly.
place to live, it's a small town. You don't want all these tons of people flocking to Closter now, do you?
I don't know.
Then we have to build more housing, and then that creates a whole nother problem. But we'll step away from that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole low income. I guess we'll eventually get there because I have my opinions about that. But that's where the competitive side comes out of me, and because I live there, and I want, I think every parent wants the best for their kids.
Of course.
Although my kids don't go to school in Closter. I still want the best for that. And so we just started getting a stipend, which is $5,000 a year for council people.
Oh.
And so, but I'm in quite a bit of committees and other groups where it does take up quite a bit of time. Especially when I have to prepare my reports. And so I am also the fire commissioner for Closter. So I do any kind of bigger incidences where it's a major accident. Thankfully, we don't have that many. And I'm so grateful for our volunteer firefighters. My father was a fire chief in Korea. When he was younger.
Oh, cool.
Although I can never do that job. Although I would love to, but I have some physical restraints that prohibit me from doing it. But, I have the utmost admiration for our police and our fire, for what they go through. I had lots of friends that are police officers. I'm on the board for the New Jersey Asian American Law Enforcement for quite some time now. It's been over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And the person who created the group, Robert May, I'm great friends with him. I actually just spoke with him yesterday. And so we're always chit-chatting about how to make that organization better. And so I'm always thinking in whatever I'm involved with, how can I make this better?
Right.
And so that's what I do. But council does take quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
It's more than you would think.
Yeah.
Especially at this year, I'm in more groups than my fellow council people. And so, but I'm happy to do it. I'm actually lucky where I do have the free time since our business kind of runs by itself. And I also have my father who's 91 this Saturday, who loves to go into work and watch over the store, and which I think helps him keep being younger.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, that's just like my dad. He doesn't stop moving. Never takes vacations. It's all about I think that's what that generation is. That's the ethos of that generation, right? Like it's the nonstop moving, and I mean, it keeps them young, right?
Yeah.
They live longer, which I'm thankful for, right? So, but what you said really, I liked what you said with regards to whatever you get involved in, you want to make better. I think, and I would hope that anyone who gets involved in anything would want to make it better, but that's not the case. That's really not the case. And that's also applies to politics, I think. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. and I want to kind of bring the discussion back to like the Asian voters, the Korean American voters. Like, how do you think we can get, okay, let's say they don't come out to vote, or they aren't as involved. Like, we don't really know why, but is there, like, what can we do to try to get them more involved, to make it better for our communities? Because you look at Bergen County, I mean, Bergen County has a lot of Koreans. We're both Koreans, so that's why we're talking about it on this podcast. Like, I can't talk about Japanese people because I don't know that community, right?
Right.
What we do know is that the ballot in Bergen County has a translation in Korean. So that means there's a lot of Korean people here, right? We don't see that in any other county in New Jersey, I don't think, nor in anywhere in the United States. Maybe in LA, I don't know. Back in the day, the streets of Palisades Park had meters and they were in Korean. So it's like, you know, there's a large, substantial Korean population. I think probably 60,000 or so people that live in Bergen County. So there's a big voting block. How can we, but are they all voting? I don't think they are. How do we get them more involved? This has been a question that's been pondering, you know, on my mind for the last few years, because it's kind of frustrating when people complain, but then like they don't like show up to come to the meetings, or they don't show up to vote, right? And they always complain. And my first reaction is like, stop complaining. You don't do anything. You don't even vote. So why are you complaining? At least vote, then you can say something. Last year when I was running for Congress, I flipped a lot of people. I got them to register to vote, and a lot of them did vote. But what I discovered was, you know, there are a lot of Koreans that are maybe Democrats, registered Democrats, that I flipped to. I actually flipped a lot of them to Republicans. They don't know why they're Democrat. Like, you ask them, why are you a Democrat and not a Republican? They don't know. There's no valid reason. And so maybe it has to come down to education. But, you know, older people don't have time for education. They're going to stick to what they know. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's go after the younger people. And you mentioned a kid, Brian, who Bergen Academies, and that's pretty inspiring to see younger people who are being active. I don't know if he's a Democrat or Republican, but like being active, right? We need some sort of activity. So what do you think what are some of the things do you think that we can do to kind of increase civic engagement within our community?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I'm guilty as well. When I was younger, never followed politics.
I didn't either because we didn't have this discussion at the table, right? If we even had a discussion, it was like, where's your report card, right? It's like, how'd the test go, right?
Right.
Like in my household, participating in sports was frowned upon. Right? Like,
Yep.
I went to public school till like seventh grade, and then I went to private school because I was bullied in 7th grade. But I went to 8th grade, I went to private school, and hey, I wanted to participate in sports, but like it was frowned upon.
I understand. I mean, I grew up playing football.
Yeah,
and
I'm surprised I tried football. I have experiences I can share. I don't want to share it though because they're personal experiences between myself and my dad. But it's like, it was all about study, right? It was all about like what, grade, what, homework, blah, blah, blah. So it was never discussed. Politics was never discussed. Never.
Right. I mean, same thing with me, growing up football, it was, hey, you should be studying for this, especially, especially in the Korean community, everyone expects all the parents expect you to become either a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
It was never, hey, can I go into sports? No, it was never an option like it is today. I think parents are more open-minded.
I think so, yeah.
Today, but back then, my dad was a Democrat. I think he might still be listed as a Democrat, although he votes more Definitely votes more Republican.
Okay.
It definitely goes by the candidate. Same thing. So I didn't know any better. I just clicked off when it was time to vote.
Right.
I was like, I'll just become Democrat too.
Yeah.
So I just followed my parents.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything. Although when I was younger, I never voted, just like today's generation. And so I did have this conversation with Mayor Steve Fulop.
Okay, yeah, he ran for governor.
And they spent, I don't know if it was him himself, but I know everybody in politics spent millions of dollars researching how to get the younger people involved. And we had this discussion, and he still didn't have an answer. Although they spent millions of dollars trying to get more younger people involved. It just doesn't happen. And same thing with Closter residents now. People complain about taxes, and so we try to have a forum to inform our residents of how the appraisal company. We invite the appraisal people. We invite the tax assessor. Anybody to do with property taxes in Closter, we invite them, and we have a discussion. But the turnout is always very, very, very poor. Yeah. And then a week later, it's the same thing. Hey, why are my taxes? And it's just, there's no community engagement. And so how do we get the younger people involved? When I find out that somebody has like a little bit of interest, I jump on them. It doesn't matter what party affiliation. Yeah. I know this one girl who, from our church, who is legally blind. She's brilliant. She goes to Princeton, and she had interest in politics. And so I jumped on that. I tried to help her as much as possible. Sent her, whenever I got some kind of communication about the White House, whether it's an internship or anything, I would send it to her. She did work for Bob Oth for a little bit. I don't know if she's still doing it, but she's not the only one. There are high school students as well who, when they display a little bit of interest in government, I try to get them as much support for them to follow. Because although there's no interest in it, we as a Korean population, we can't, it's harder to voice our opinions if there's nobody in the background. Right. And so we really need to group together. And to me, it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. As Korean population, Korean community, we need to stand behind each other, because some of those problems that we face, it doesn't matter what party affiliation you are. We're, especially like racism, it affects us all. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The racism people are not asking you, hey, what party are you from? Yeah. They're saying, hey, go back to your country or whatever, whatever they want to say. And sometimes it gets really ugly. I grew up in an era where I have thicker skin. But actually, I don't think it really matters, because my older son, who's in college right now, he's got much thicker skin than my son who's in 10th grade. They're only a couple years apart, 2 years apart, but there's a big difference where the first one he lets it bounce off of him. He's like, whatever, where the second one is, he gets angry. He gets, it affects him, and he's so surprised about racism. And so I try to teach him, hey, it's part of the world. It's never going to end. But if you want to change something, you need to get involved. Or not, if most Koreans that just shy away into the corner, if you don't speak up, it'll never go anywhere. So if you get angry, then divert your anger toward and try to become a voice. So that's what I preach to my boys and my daughter, which kind of got me into trouble because now I had to back it up and I had to run for council. And so that's what I did.
No, I think though you said something that I think is pretty important, and I think this may be one of the answers to how do we get the youth more engaged is like number one, being observant of your surroundings and your community, like paying attention. I think that's very important, right? Because like you said, even if you see an inkling of interest or whatever, you reach out. I think we have to be observant of that. I think the second thing is to also providing that assistance or the guidance or the resource, even if we don't have the answers, to show that we care by saying, oh, you have this interest? What about it are you interested in? And how can I help you? And then showing that young person, like, I'm really interested in trying to help you through through my actions, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's probably one of the answers. And how do we because like then if that student is, like, wow, this guy, this older guy, older man, woman is trying to help me, and I'm getting more interested, and they're always here to support me, giving me guidance, giving me mentorship. It's getting me more interested, and then I'm fired up. This person cares about me. I want to show them that I appreciate their help. I'll start moving and start doing it. So I think that's probably one of the answers to it. I think that in order to do that, though, we need to get more elected people, like more people elected.
Definitely.
Right. I think that's probably what we need to do. So more people. You don't have to run for like mayor or council, but you can do what I did and run for the board of ed. I mean, even before that, you can participate in your PTAs, right? In your local PTA and become president or whatever. Like for me, I felt like I needed to be a voice. Like in Paramus, we have a substantial amount of Korean residents and Asian residents, as well. But when I looked at the board of ed, it was all, no offense, white people, but it was all white people, right?
Yeah,
like, so
yep.
like you guys can say you care, but for the Asian or the Korean parents who aren't confident in speaking in English, how can they present their concerns? I mean, you come in front of a board of people that they don't know and try to speak in broken English or whatever. Like, that's intimidating.
Yep.
That's very intimidating. So it does help to have someone that maybe kind of looks like me, talks like me. They would probably understand what I'm really trying to say if I'm not eloquent in my words. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I actually ran, because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of diversity in Bergen County. Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
Yep.
Right. But part of me feels like, are we really being heard? Or is it the politicians just pretending that they care, that one day out of the year when they're running for re-election or for their position, and that's the end of it?
Yeah, because I definitely think there are some politicians who are doing it just to become a politician and not actually help.
Yeah, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it for their own self-interest, right? Either they've just retired and they're going, they're trying to look for their second job. I mean, you ask them, you care so much, what have you done up to now? What have you done for the community, right? A lot of these people who are running for higher positions haven't done anything. They haven't done, like, come on, a resume speaks words, right? Your actions speak tremendously. You can't just say, I care. Everyone cares, right? Yeah. But it's like, well, how do you care? How do you show that you care?
Yeah, I definitely think there are some politicians who only use it as a photo op.
Oh.
and definitely don't care.
I would love to mention some of them right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, same here. I definitely see it.
Yeah.
And I also try to educate my kids. Definitely what Trump says about media being one-sided. It's so, I don't know if people recognize that, but it is definitely one-sided. And when he first said it, I didn't even realize it because I didn't follow the media. I didn't follow politics. But then I slowly started realizing, oh my God, he's totally correct. Whatever the media says, it's not just the media. I think definitely teachers too. They voice their opinions. And so when it comes to my kids, I give them the option. I don't necessarily say, oh, you should do it this way. I don't. It's the same thing with their kid schooling. So both my boys, one graduated from Don Bosco and the second one's still going there. Yeah. And my daughter goes to Bergen Tech. It was always their choice to whatever school they wanted to. My wife and I never forced them to go to either school. It wasn't, hey, you got to go to Catholic school. Yeah. It wasn't like that. It was their choice. And same thing here now. What I try to do is, hey, this is the situation. Whatever situation it is, I try to show them everything, and it's up to them to decide for themselves, which direction they want to go to. And this is one of the things where I try to get kids involved because I do know the kids talk. And it's funny because I didn't think the kids ever talked about politics. But when I do ask them, hey, do you know about this current event or that current event? They actually do know.
They probably know more than you, right?
Yeah. So, I give them all the full facts that I know of, and I let them decide for themselves. And so it winds up that they actually go and talk to their friends about it. And so I'm happy that they talk about current events and our local government and our federal government now, what's going on. So, I'm proud that they do. And I think that's one of the reasons how to get to the younger people to vote. I do hope that the younger people do vote. I don't know. I'm trying to pick away at a large issue. I'm just picking away little pebbles. But I think every little it helps.
I think one thing you kind of mentioned, you kind of show is like parents need to be involved, and not just like kind of like the superficial level, like, oh, I'll bring you to sports or whatever, but like actually be involved with like the communication with their kids. I think that may be one thing that has been kind of slowly decreasing over the last 20 or so years. Like parents were busy. Like my parents both work. Send their kids to school, rely on school to teach the kids, right? They never think they were going to be taught weird ideologies, but just taught the subjects, right? Math, English, science, right?
Yep.
And I think the parents trusted the schools too much, where they relegated their responsibilities to them. And then, when parents get home, they're tired. We have to make dinner. You don't really eat dinner together because working late or whatever. Got to do homework. And the family unit kind of breaks apart a little bit. And I think what you did with your children is actually excellent in the sense that you would present all the information, all facts, right? We have to see both sides.
Right.
Maybe there's more than two sides to a story, right? Mm-hmm. We see a lot of time, especially in social media, everything is edited and cut, right? So you only see parts of you see a 10, 20, 30 second snippet of an hour-long conversation or a 2-hour-long conversation, but you're making your decision based on that 30 seconds where it's out of context. I think this kind of happened even recently with regards to the Secretary of Defense, or now it's Secretary of War, Peter, I forgot his name, Hegs something, right? Where he brought all the generals and all the officers into one room, and then I saw a snippet like basically saying you guys are all overweight and fat. Like you need to like be a really good representation of what the military is supposed to be. Yeah. Like fit, like we're warriors, basically, right? But the media just takes that 30-second, and that's what I saw. But then you go to YouTube and you watch the whole thing, and they're like, oh, it makes sense. You know? So, and what's scary is because every child now has a smartphone or even Chromebook, that like they're being bombarded with all this social media, these 30 seconds, it's shaping their young minds because they're not really thinking about the whole picture. That's where we as parents have to come in and be like, wait a second, is this the real, like to challenge them, not to, I mean, we're their parents. So we're ultimately responsible for them. But for my son, I mean, he's too young now, but I would present a question like, is this the real truth, or is this the total information that we have, or are there other sides? And then how can we maybe break that down, or maybe and have that discussion? I'm looking forward to that when my son gets older, because I think that would challenge him, and he's a smart kid. My son knows. I'm going to brag about him. There's a book of dinosaurs, and it's not like 5 dinosaurs. It's like literally like 100, maybe 200 dinosaurs. It's like a Korean book, but like he knows like all the dinosaurs' names.
I'm not surprised.
I know Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Brontosaurus, like I know 5 or 6, right? He knows all these. I'm like, he doesn't read. We've gone through it maybe once or twice, but he's just like, what the? That really shocked me, because that showed me like he's a sponge.
Yep.
And then that's kind of scary too, because it's like, well, if he gets the wrong information, if I'm not paying attention, he loves Alexa. He'll go, Alexa, da-da-da. And he doesn't even really know. We're a Korean household, so most of our communication is Korean, but now I'm teaching him a little English here and there, and then he's picking it up from, watching these YouTube for kids and stuff like that, which I minimize that. But he'll go to Alexa and ask. And if we're not there paying attention, something might not go well, right? And that's, I think, the same thing for school. There are things that are happening in the primary school that like none of us would know. But if my friend who has a child in the school, if they didn't have good communication, she wouldn't know, and she wouldn't tell me, right? That's why it's so vital for, in my opinion, for parents, even if you're tired, and we're all tired.
Yep.
Like, we try to put my son to bed at 9:00. Doesn't happen because he wants to play with me. I'm tired. He's crawling all over me. He's jumping on me. We were having a dance party last night. It's like, I'm tired. But if I don't do that, it's over. And that youth is gone, right? So it's gone. Like your son's in college. Time flew, right?
Yep.
Right. You only have 2 more years with your sophomore son, and then your daughter, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It just flies. I don't want that. And once it's gone forever. I don't want that I don't want to miss that chance and opportunity. So I think what you said was actually very, very good. Like, you're listening and you're presenting all the facts and information that you can. And even if you don't know, you're probably looking it up or spending time with them and be like, let's try to find all the information and then make a informed decision. Right. I think that's something that you said. So look, all right. You mentioned something also, and I know we're almost hitting the hour mark, but you know what? I'm having a good conversation, and if you're okay, let's talk a little bit more. But you mentioned it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or an independent or a Republican, whatever. Just come and be involved. I kind of think it does matter a little bit, and okay. I'm sure you do too, in a sense. You are a Republican. I'm a registered Republican. Is the Republican message better than the other message?
Oh, definitely. I mean,
And why is it better? Like, just keep it so that simple, so that like the normal average Joe could understand. Why is it better?
I mean, let's just go back to a little bit. And so the same thing. When my father came here, he was busy working. We actually came here on a layaway program where it was called Pay Now. Fly Now, Pay Later, because we didn't have enough money to fly here.
Okay.
So, we were a minus. So my dad was always working, and he never really got a chance to spend a lot of time with us because he was working. Where I'm lucky enough where I can spend more time, and sometimes my dad's always on my case about that because I do spend quite a bit of time with him. But it's part of my coming up Catholic, my religious background. My wife is very religious. She goes to church almost every day, except for Saturdays, unless she needs to. But she's part of the choir. She's very heavily involved with church, and it's what makes her who she is today. And same thing with me. Growing up Catholic, we instilled these ideas to our kids. We passed them down. All three of my kids are altar servers at church. Even though my son's in college, he's still going to Mass every Sunday, or whenever he can go. He told me he did miss one time because he
But he told you.
Yeah, he had to actually go on a field trip. But these are, it's just ingrained in them, hey, go to Mass every Sunday. But these are our values that I grew up with. And so, we passed it on to our kids. And so this is one of the greater things that I follow with the Republicans, or I'm closer with the Republicans, is because of my religious values. And so that's just it's not the only thing that I agree. It's just a lot of the Republicans, the way they are, their beliefs are the same what I believe in. And so, back when I was a Democrat, just because I was following my dad, I didn't really follow politics at that point. But then I didn't even know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican back then. I'm definitely more conservative. And so, once I started learning about it, I'm like, oh, I'm not really a Democrat. I'm a Republican. And so when I was going door to door when I was campaigning, I was knocking on everybody's door. It wasn't just
Republicans.
It wasn't just voters. People were like, hey, just hit up the voters. Right. And then, I'll definitely go to the independents and the Republicans. Yeah. But, you might have some difficulty with the Democrats. Or why bother wasting your time with people who don't vote? But to me, they're a closer resident, whether they're a voter or not, and I like to still hear what they have to say because I'm trying to make it better for everyone, not just the voters.
Right.
And so during my encounters with the public, there were a lot of people where they were registered Democrats, but when they opened the door and I started having a conversation, they were like, same thing, where I feel more Republican. And so even though I'm registered as a Democrat, I followed the Republican values and how the Republicans are, definitely. Because for me, as a conservative, I definitely don't like taxing people. That's one of my biggest ones. Especially my parents who came here and worked hard to give all their money back away so that there's wasteful spending somewhere that that we're contributing to. I don't want them to work hard and then just give it away. Right. They worked hard for it. And so everyone that works hard for it, I believe, don't get me wrong, I do believe if you're down and out that helping them is a necessity in life where we need to help each other if you're down and out. But helping them and then supporting them are two totally different things.
Right. Not teaching them how to get off that help or not rely on that support.
Right.
Where they don't do anything and just rely on the support.
Right. It's just like, hey, don't, if they're starving, don't get them food, teach them how to fish. Right. It's one of those lines. So, I do totally believe in that, where, okay, let's give them a helping hand, but let's help them in a way where let's get them back up on their feet and help them get back into where, let's all be comfortable. It's just I had a friend who was a stockbroker, and he was just saying, oh, if I make it big, what are you going to do with all your money? And when he asked me, like, if I ever won the lottery, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, if I take the money and I'm by myself, it's lonely. I would spread the wealth. It's not just me. I would help my friends, my family, whomever needs it, my church, whatever, help everybody. It's just, if it's more than that I need, let's help each other. It's lonely to be, what am I going to do? Spend it all by myself, like in, at a nice resort? It's lonely. Whereas I believe in spreading the wealth. And so at one point I just said, I realized, oh, all these Republican values, they're...
When you said spreading the wealth, isn't that kind of like a Democrat type of thinking, like spreading the wealth? Because there's a lot of people who are Democrats or really far left, like saying, oh, the millionaires, they have so much money, just give it all to, like, they should give their money we should take their money and give it to the other people who don't have money. Isn't that spreading the wealth?
I don't know. Not to me. I mean, I feel like with the Democrats, they're actually buying the vote. They're spreading the wealth for the wrong reasons. Definitely just to buy their vote and to make them into a stronger position.
I think they're doing some really shady stuff. I mean, given both sides, I'm sure they probably do shady things, right? But it's like, I think if we look at it on a national scale of like illegal immigration or, people coming in, Democrats want them to come vote, right? So that the Democrats stay in power. I mean, that's why they're allowing, even I think in New York City, allowing residents of New York City to vote for certain council or certain local issues. I think that's happening in New York City and LA, if I'm not mistaken. So, but like, if you can only vote if you're a citizen, right? Like, that's like me going to another foreign country and being able to vote and participate in something, but I'm not a citizen there. That makes no sense. Spreading the wealth, like, taxing everyone so that we can provide food to those who need it. Like providing free cell phones, to people who, like those types of things. I think that's over excessive. So I guess you probably mean like spreading the wealth, not in that way, but in the way where it's like you're helping build other people to becoming better and getting them so that they can themselves hopefully help other people once they become better. Maybe that's probably like where you're going at. Yeah. I think that definitely is a mantra, not only like a Christian value, right? But it's like for me, when obviously I don't want people to suffer. I don't want people to, to be in harm's way or whatever it is. But like, I want you to give it your all. Like you need to try, right?
Yep.
Like if let's say, like for me recently, I've been realizing that I'm a little overweight. I've gained weight, right? But
I don't see it, but
no, but I've lost, like I've started, like, so I can say I'm overweight.
that's just part of getting older.
No, I know it is, but I can use that as an excuse though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting overweight, but I'm just getting older, and not do anything about it. I could say I'm getting overweight and keep eating bad food. That's contributing to my problem. I'm not trying to resolve the problem, but I'm complaining, right? Mm-hmm. Or I can say, all right, maybe I'll do a little exercise today. Maybe I'll fast today. Maybe I'll minimize what I eat and I'll eat healthier, right? Those are actions that I can take to proactively help myself rather than not doing anything at all. So, that's kind of like my thought process is like, if you help yourself as much as you can. If you don't have money, work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You can find a job, right? Will it meet the standards that you want? No, probably not. But if you need money, you'll do whatever you have to take. If you have to Uber, right? If you have to do this or that or whatever, do it. Do that proactive thing. And then if you need some help, and if I can help you, I'll help you. But I want to see that you're trying to do it, right? I want to see that you're making an effort. And I think that's kind of the little bit of a disconnect, I think. When you see the socialism that's going on, like everything needs to be free. Well, you know what? Nothing's ever free. Yeah. College can't be free. How are we going to pay the professors? No one's going to work for free. It's all coming out from somewhere. And why does it have to come out from your dad's pockets when he slaved over working 12 hours a day, pumping gas? Why does he have to pay for it? Why aren't you capable of doing it? Right? That's what kind of pisses me off a little bit, and why I can't be myself a Democrat and all those ideologies and things that they're doing, because it's just not. It's not the basic foundation of what like we as people should be doing. That's my belief. That's part of my belief. I don't know if you kind of agree with that or not, but
no, I totally agree.
I think that kind of would resonate to a lot of Koreans, a lot of immigrants who've come here, who did it the right way, who've worked their asses off, their tails off. No one gave them a free lunch. And that's why, like, my parents are successful, one of the most successful people that I know in the Korean community. Your parents are successful as well. You don't get to a point where you own 13 gas stations by doing nothing, right? You don't get to become a millionaire and own commercial properties here and there and whatever, but doing nothing. You worked your ass off. And so that's what they did. And I think somehow we have to, like, the values for Korean Americans, like, I think it's family. I think faith has a big deal to do with it. I mean, your Catholic faith, my Christian faith, education, right? And the spirit of like do or die, right? The entrepreneurial spirit, like we got to do it, right? Because when our parents came over, it's not like they were able to get a job in corporate America.
Nope.
My dad worked in an air conditioning factory mopping floors.
I mean, my dad, when we came to Pensacola, and he worked for Toyota, who offered him a green card while he was in Korea.
Yeah.
He was the only one who stayed over. I think he had to stay a minimum of 6 months. He wound up staying about 2 years, but he adapted himself because everybody got fired after 6 months. And he adapted by learning, not just becoming a mechanic, but he also adapted by learning how to become a parts guy. So he worked while he was not working, he was studying all the parts for the cars. And so at the one point when they were trying to downsize all the mechanics, he was able to get a job in the parts section. And he actually wound up knowing more about the parts than the manager over there. And so in the beginning, we didn't have any money for food. So we're in Pensacola in Florida. What would he do? He would go out fishing.
Yeah.
He would catch our fish, and that was our dinner.
Yeah.
And that was all our meals. And so, my dad had to do whatever he could, and he did it the right way. He was, people have said, oh, you're an immigrant yourself. But, to them, I'm saying, hey, we did it the right way. We didn't cut in line trying to, scapegoat and not get a green card and, just stay here illegally. My dad did it the right way.
And the right way is not always the easiest way. It's probably the hardest way.
Definitely.
Right? It's the hardest way.
Yeah.
But like, and I think that just shows kind of, I think that spirit, whether you immigrated here or you came from nothing, I think that's part of what the American spirit is that nothing was like before America became America. It was the 13 colonies. What was it? It was the Revolutionary War. Nothing was given to them. They fought for it. And in a similar way, your parents fought for what they have to get to where they were today. My parents did. And I feel like we've lost some of that feeling of like fighting for it. I think the generation now is like, we're owed this. Mm-hmm. We deserve this. Like, this is ours. I mean, like, I'm a winner. Everyone's a winner. No, there's one winner and everyone else is a loser, right? I'm sorry to say, but like there's only, and that's you said you're competitive. That's the competitive spirit. That's the mentality. And that's what, if my dad didn't work and make money that day, he's not going to get money from somewhere else.
Yeah.
No one's giving you money. We have it a little different, right? Because our parents paved the way that, like, worst comes to worst, I need to get money. We can maybe get it from our parents or whatever, right? But our parents laid that foundation and that foundation for us. And I'm blessed. You're blessed. We're thankful for that. I think now it's our responsibility, though, to return the favor, and not monetarily, but return the favor. And how do we create our future? Right? Because, we're Korean Americans, but we're Americans, right? It's not like you're going to go to Korea and live there.
Nope.
I don't know. Maybe I have to because of what's going on in this country. but like, no, I'm America. I was born here, right? I was born in New Jersey, Bergen County. I'm an American. You're an American. The people who immigrate here become Americans, right?
Yep.
Like, my dad's not gonna live in Korea. He told me, because when he went back a couple times, I never want to go back there. Never. Right? So we're Korean Americans, but at the end of the day, we're Americans. And I hope that most people understand, especially the Korean community and the Asian community, that if you don't vote, you're not participating in what it means to be an American. Mm-hmm. Because these freedoms that we have, and those people who immigrated from Korea or other countries, you guys know you don't have the freedoms that you have here in America. Even in the UK, people are getting arrested. UK is like a sister country to America, right? We're like cousins. But people are getting arrested for things that they say on social media.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? That could happen here. Don't ever think it can't happen. They're the closest country to us, like, relationally, with regards to, like, living and all that type of stuff. You think it won't happen here because it's UK, it's far away? It can happen in Canada. You think it's not something, So that's why you need to vote. That's why you need to research. Whether you vote for Democrat, Republican, whatever it is, be informed before you vote. Don't just listen to what some Joe Schmo says or some 30-second video that you see on social media. Oh, this person's bad or whatever, I'm not going to vote for them. Like, be informed. And I think that's important. Chris, any closing thoughts before we end this podcast? I know we've spoken a long time, but
I still think that America is the greatest country in the world. My daughter the other day, she was staying up until really late, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I got to buy this sweatshirt on the internet, and it winds up that it's some kind of viral thing among teenagers. And then I was like looking it up, and I look up the designer's 22 years old. I'm like, oh wow, So I was pointing that out to my kids. I'm like, listen, she's 22 years old. Look how successful it is. Look how viral it's going. You could do the same thing. So, I encourage the young to get involved. If you want to do it, do it. Don't hold back. There's nothing to hold you back. And, I think us as parents, we have to be supportive of our kids. Definitely conversations. I'm constantly talking to my kids. And so, these are all the important things. But, what you see on the media and in terms of voting, if you don't vote, I just feel like it's a waste, especially if you want to really back up the Korean community. If you really want to be proud of who you are, you need to go out and vote, because it's important to show your voice. You need to show the politicians, hey, we're a force to be reckoned with. And, you can do it. And so I encourage everybody to vote, get involved. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything small, it could be big, even running for council in your church. Do it. It'll give you experience later on down the road. And so I encourage everybody to get involved, do it, and voice your opinion. I think that's one of the biggest things is with the Koreans is not voicing your opinion out loud. And so the biggest way to voice your opinion is by voting. So I encourage everybody to do it.
Chris, thank you for sharing your story with us today and your insights. And for everyone listening, civic engagement isn't just about politics. It's about having a voice, like Chris said, and shaping the community where you live. Whether you're voting in a local election, attending council meetings, involved in church, encouraging a friend to register to vote, that all matters. Big thanks to Councilman Chris Cho of Closter again for joining me today. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your friends. Be sure to follow us, write a comment, let me know your thoughts and your opinions on what you think. Let's keep building a stronger, more engaged Korean American community and community as a whole in our towns. One voice and one vote at a time. This is George, and this is The Inside Lines.